It's Thursday, November 25. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Locals and visitors to Jamaica can now get information on various licensed and coronavirus COVID-19 compliant tourist entities across the island at the tap of a finger. The Tourism Product Development Company TPDCO launched a mobile application on Wednesday. The app features, among other things, a travel guide with a cost estimator and a complete travel blog. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says with the pandemic, access to information has become even more important. He applauded TPDCO's effort to tap into this new era of digital access. The app can be downloaded free from the Google Play Store and will soon be available for iOS users. The services industry has grown by about 7.3%. That data was presented by Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Pbcj, Dr. Wayne Henry, as he shared the preliminary estimates on the performance of the economy for the July to September quarter at a media briefing on Wednesday morning. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, says growth in the service sector is relative to the corresponding period last year. He notes growth in the utility services, wholesale and machinery sectors.
Electricity and water supply. The electricity and water supply industry is estimated to have recorded growth in real value added of 0.6%, reflecting higher electricity and water consumption. Electricity consumption grew by 0.2% due to higher consumption in 2 of the 6 categories. Higher sales were recorded for largest power, that's rate 70, up 27.5%. Power service, that's large businesses using more than 25 kilovolt ampere, but less than 500 kilovolt ampere, up 0.1%. Declines were, however, recorded for residential, down 2.2%, general service, that's small businesses using less than 25 kVA, down 4.2%, and large power, that's businesses using more than 500 kVA, down 0.2%, and street lighting plus other was down 3%.
Dr. Henry says real value added for the wholesale and retail industry grew by 3.9%.
Due to increased demand stemming from 1, increased employment of 93,400 persons, 2, increased net remittance inflows by 7.4% to US $835.4 million, 3, growth in the related manufacture, construction, and agriculture, forestry, and fishing industries, and 4, the relaxation of COVID-19 containment measures.
And the Director General says the tourism industry has reported over 100% growth in business.
Stopover visitor arrivals for the months of July and August 2021 increased by 293.3%. The performance of the industry benefited from increased vaccination in Jamaica's main source markets and initiatives such as the establishment of a resilient corridor and the drive by tourism stakeholders to get their workers vaccinated to prepare for visitors. Cruise passenger arrivals, which resumed visits to the island in August of 2021, totaled 8,379 from 5 ships for the months of August and September, relative to none during the corresponding period of 2020. Visitor expenditure was estimated to have increased by 186.3% to US $463.4 million for the months of July and August 2021.
The government signed the Montego Bay Perimeter Road project contract on Wednesday. The construction should create a bypass of the usually congested urban center of Montego Bay in St. James. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was on hand for the signing. Simone Absalom Gale tells us more.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says a critical feature of the road to be developed is its resilience against natural disasters such as flooding. According to the Prime Minister,
the way the road is constructed and designed, it is unlikely to be impacted by flooding. And in taking into consideration the drainage, we are not just building a road, we are building the complete infrastructure to ensure that whatever events, weather events, that would occur as a result of climate change, we have adapted our infrastructure to account for that.
According to the Prime Minister, the road will be good for tourism.
It shouldn't be that it is 1.5 hours from Miami, maybe 1 hour in the airport, but then you would spend an hour or an hour and a half in traffic to get to the hotel. It shouldn't be. When you're in Jamaica, you should be in Jamaica. And that's what we want to give the tourism product, that once you land, you are minutes away from paradise. That's the idea. And the perimeter road will reduce the travel time once you are in the country. It will then open up more opportunities, not just for people who are coming to stay in the hotels, but for people who are visiting attractions. In other words, the tourists can go to more attractions because they can get back to the ship much faster and without worry.
He says the funds for the construction will come from the government's purse.
We are financing this project with our own resources and doing so during the worst pandemic in 100 years. Just yesterday, Moody's Investor Services affirmed Jamaica's long-term issuer and senior unsecured rating at B2 with a stable outlook.
The Prime Minister notes the unique feature of the contract between the government and China Harbour Engineering Company Limited, which will facilitate skills training.
The contractor is required, in collaboration with the Heart Trust NSTA, to develop and implement a training program for the transfer of knowledge and technology to Jamaican workers not having the required skills who are suitable candidates to work on the project as on-the-job trainees under the Knowledge and Technology Transfer Program. So in this project, even though we are saying you must employ 50% technical people from Jamaica, even the unskilled will go through a process of technology transfer. So our engagement with Czech is not just to build the road, it is to build the skills.
The National Road Operating Company will also oversee the project. Simone Absalom Gale reporting for the news on PBCJ.
The Health and Wellness Ministry says it will have to dump 145,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine if they are not used within the next 6 days. Director of Family Health Services, Dr. Melody Ennis, says the ministry is trying to increase the take-up of the medication before it expires. More than 100,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine were dumped after they expired last month. Motorists should see a reduction at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and a decrease in the price of diesel. More on this and our regular market updates in this edition of the Business Report. Effective Thursday, November 25, motorists should pay less at the pumps for gasoline and diesel. 87 and 90 octane gasoline are both down by 25 cents and will be sold for $159.69 and $165.14 per liter, respectively. Automotive diesel fuel saw a 25-cent price drop and will be sold for $160.05. Ultra-low sulfur diesel is also down by 25 cents and will be sold for $164.63 per liter. Kerosene also saw a 25-cent decrease and will be sold for $137.82 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $74.24 per liter, following a decrease of $3. Butane liquid petroleum also saw a $3 price decrease and will be sold for $83.34 per liter. Be on the lookout for price changes as marketing companies and retailers will add their markup to these prices. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, November 24, the US dollar sold for an average $156.82. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $123.38. The pound sterling traded for $210.87, and the euro sold for an average $179.99. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 2,146 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 95 stocks, of which 47 advanced, 35 declined, and 13 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 14 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Trading firm were Blue Power Group Limited, CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, and Consolidated Bakers Jamaica Limited. Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial was the volume leader with over 6 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1.4 million units and Jamaican Teas Limited with over 1.3 million units. In market data for oil, prices were little changed on Thursday, with investors waiting to see how major producers respond to the emergency crude release by major consuming countries designed to cool the market, even as data pointed to healthy U.S. fuel demand. Brent crude futures slipped 3 cents to $82.22 a barrel after losing 6 cents on Wednesday. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 9 cents or 0.1% to $78.30 a barrel, extending an 11-cent loss on Wednesday. The Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is reminding the public that it will open select tax offices this Saturday, November 27, and every last Saturday of the month for the remainder of the 2021-2022 financial year. The tax authority says this is subject to any announcements by the government on COVID containment measures. The following tax offices will operate this Saturday between the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. St. Andrew, Montego Bay, Mandeville, Savannah Lamar, St. Anne's Bay, and Old Harbour. The Portmore tax office will continue its usual weekly Saturday operations with adjusted business hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. TAJ says the Saturday service alleviates the usually high walk-in traffic at tax offices during the busy month-end weekday period. Taxpayers will be able to access taxpayer service activities, including processing motor vehicle registration and other motor vehicle transactions, applying for a taxpayer registration number TRN, dropping off documents for the renewal of their driver's license, and make tax and fee payments. Additionally, motorists who have not as yet collected their printed driver's license cards are able to do so at any of the listed locations if their applications were dropped off there. Audit and compliance activities will not be available during the Saturday operations. Persons are reminded that they may opt to avoid a tax office visit entirely by conducting several transactions online, to include payment for driver's license renewal, fitness certificate, traffic ticket, business-related taxes and deductions, and property tax, as well as electronically querying property tax liabilities. For more information, call the Tax Administration Customer Care Center at 888-TAX-HELP. That's 888-829-4357, or visit the website at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. In regional news, despite understanding the plight of contract workers within the public sector, Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. Keith Mitchell, says that government's hands remain tied due to certain fiscal responsibilities with international lending agencies. While noting the importance of regularizing contract work, the Prime Minister said the question left to be answered is what government can do about the issue.
There should be one public service. There should not be parallel public service running alongside the public service.
Contrary to the stance taken by NDC's political leader Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell has again hinted at the budget presentation on Friday for relief, this time concerning contract workers in the public sector. The Prime Minister noted it directly relates to public officers who were disenfranchised from receiving the 4% salary increases and the result in retroactive payments which ensued.
The Minister of Finance hoping to make some announcement during the budget period about contract workers, the fact that they should have been getting the increases that government other workers got, And we should be doing some additional things and correcting some of the problems they face, and the problem with the teachers and regularization.
Prime Minister Mitchell was also pressed by the media on further action from government in providing decent contracts instead of the normal 6-month or 1-year fixed-term contracts.
This is a burning issue, again, I admit, and this is an issue that we must resolve. There are two aspects of this. One, you're right, I see no reason why a 5-year contract can't be given, with conditions for your performance, right? So if you're after 2 years and you are given civil notices of malperformance, then you can lose your job.
The Prime Minister said there are other approaches government can take to fortify the status of contract work.
And my feeling is, if the government decide to look at the emolument, in the contract comes the question of payment for NIS and other services. The question of leave, in other words, your contract should be based on the fact that you may not be taking leave, so to speak. And if you're not, that the size of the contract, emolument-wise, can be accommodated.
Facilitating the process whereby financial institutions treat contract workers differently was another concern raised by the media.
Now, if I'm working for 5 years and 10 years, I don't have to go and write a letter and say his contract was renewed so-and-so time and he has a 1-year contract. And that is almost telling the bank or the institution not to give a service. So I think that's another fundamental issue. So there would be a template from government about these workers who are doing a good job and they are, in effect, permanently employed, not necessarily under the public service, but providing a service that the economy would always need. Then I think we will be able to solve that problem.
I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, new protocols announced by the Twin Islands Tourism Authority are set to benefit both residents and visitors as COVID-19 related restrictions are further delayed. Glenn Bart has the details in this report.
Among the issues addressed were the prevention of land-based visitors being able to go to travel-approved attractions and properties when cruise ships are in port. Similarly, residents were being prevented from accessing Port Zante during cruise ship days. Minister of Tourism Lindsay Grant spoke with SKN Newsline about the recent disclosures.
Well, but we've always been challenged with the COVID-19, and we have presented to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis a phased approach to our opening. What you've seen today, Tuesday, the 23rd November, is just another step in the right direction, where we have now opened up Port Zante to our locals and residents alike. We felt that it was very challenging for locals and residents who would wish to shop at Port Zante, get to the restaurants at Port Zante, to the bars at Port Zante, that they could not do it during the days that the ships were here. It worked okay when we had 1 ship or maybe 2 ships a week, but it is very challenging when you have a ship every day. And so the Cabinet took a decision yesterday in conjunction with the task force to allow residents and locals to access Port Zante on any day that there is a ship here. They will also be able to access the travel-approved sites. That also goes to persons who are staying at the hotels, because they too were challenged, because they could not visit the particular sites on a day when the ships were in. And so we have taken care of those 2 issues, and we think it will be welcome not only by the locals and residents, but those land-based tourists. So we're expecting that we'll move into the next phase very shortly to reduce the restrictions and the protocols again once we get to that threshold that we're looking at.
According to the minister, further reductions in restrictions will come soon as the country continues to engage more economically. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
In Trinidad and Tobago, a $1 million chocolate processing facility will be up and running by mid-2022. The Trinidad and Tobago Fine Cocoa Company believes the investment will reap the rewards as it hopes to get into the U.S. UK and European markets with its culinary chocolate products. Sonel Lala tells us more.
I think the local demand is increasing. Definitely think that the consumer is getting more aware about what fine flavor cocoa is.
Founder and director of Trinidad and Tobago Fine Cocoa Company, Ashley Parashram, will make a TT $2.5 million investment in a new state-of-the-art cocoa processing facility next year. He says his brand is gaining momentum both locally and abroad, having already partnered with Britain's luxury retail store, Harrods, where the locally made chocolate was sold. He says the equipment is expected to reach in April 2022 and estimates that his company should be producing fine quality cocoa products for export by the middle of the year.
That line needs to be a particular type of droplets, a particular type of machine, and that sort of investment is really about the export market. So that's a substantial amount of investment that we believe the Trinidad Cocoa is confident that we could get that to the international market.
Mr. Parashram says he has two potential sites which could either be located in the capital or in Piaco. He says his company has never had a supply problem for fine cocoa locally and urges more farmers to get into the market.
What we've got to do is make sure that the growers continue to be able to sell their beans. So we must create the demand to ensure that the growers grow more. And so we've never had a supply problem, but we work very, very closely with the Cocoa Development Company.
Meanwhile, Trade Minister Paula Gopi-Skoon is also urging farmers to engage in more value-added products in the cocoa industry.
And whereas before we were exporting primarily the beans and these cocoa slabs, now it's the greater value really is in the value added, so that we have more finished product being exported than the actual cocoa beans. The
minister says this country has seen innovative products in the recent past, including Angosturas cocoa bitters and Marcuson's Trinitaria chocolate stout. Sonolala, TTT News.
The Athletics Association of Guyana, AAG, has an ambitious plan to have athletes from the 12 independent countries and 3 dependent territories in South America compete in a 10K race in 2022. Akeem Green reports on the possibilities for the event next year.
The elaborate endeavor, which will be the first of its kind in Guyana, is being planned for the 20th stage in the South American 10K in 2022. Hudson made the disclosure on Sunday after the relative unknown Marlon Nicholson stunned the field to win the male title.
Track and field is a sport that, you just can't come with a big name and expect to win. And it's my understanding this afternoon that young Nicholson has been training very, very hard on the Linden-Suzdijk Highway. He's a very, very fit soldier. And the people like Sir Kennard and Thomas and Messinger that we expect to, really and truly lead this event, and the battle should be among the 3 of them, knowing what happened last year. So it's good that Nicholson can really and truly train, come out and do something for himself, because come next year, there'll be 2 athletes of each gender from every South American country coming here, and Guyana must represent. And if we can put Nicholson in camp early, it will be good for the event.
On Tuesday, Hudson clarified to the Newsroom Sport that they are also contemplating having 2 males and 2 females from each of the nations and have separate 10K races. The budget for the event is approximately Guyana $30 million, as the AAG will be catering for accommodation and airfare, and the intention is to host the event in November. Additionally, the AAG head indicated that Sunday's race was a test of their logistical strength, with a big aim of producing a well-organized event in 2022.
We know what's going on in the world of sport, and we're now trying to come back. We're happy that we were able to register just over 100 athletes for both events, the 10K and the other events in the park. We're almost certain we will not have schools championship this year. And so we're preparing now for the new season and preparing also for the 20th anniversary of the South American 10K. So we were basically more focused on logistics, on putting things together, to making things work, to see what exactly we need to do come next year. This also is being used as an opportunity to get the kind of footage that we need to do promotional videos for event next year, so more sponsors would come on board.
In the past, the 10K would have been contested across legs in Suriname, French Guyana, and the Columbian in Guyana, and athletes from outside of South America would compete. For the Newsroom, Akeem Green.
And still in Guyana, we're celebrating a good deed. Eureka Medical Laboratories Incorporated has provided free PCR tests for the Guyana-based members of the country's contingent to the inaugural Junior Pan American Games. The event, which will be held in Cali, Colombia, starts on November 25 and ends on December 5. Treasurer of the Guyana Olympic Association, Garfield Wiltshire, says Eureka Labs has not attached a cost to tests for the Guyanese delegation, similar to what it did for the country's athletes and officials at the Tokyo Olympic Games earlier this year. Notably, this contingent is way bigger than the one that traveled to Tokyo.
The Guyana Olympic Association would again like to express our appreciation to Eureka Labs, who have again come forward and provided the COVID tests, the PCR COVID tests, free of charge for the Guyana delegation. As you know, these tests are not cheap. They did provide it for the Olympic Games, and that contingent was small. This contingent is a lot larger, and they've again come forward and provided these tests free of charge. We would like, again, to express our appreciation to them for offering this service to us. Thank you.
What's the arrangement with the athletes when they get over there? Same thing as the Olympic Games, the rigorous testing and all of that?
No, it's not as rigorous as before. Athletes will be tested every 4 days. Instead of at the Olympics, it was every day.
And in sports, we're starting with cricket. West Indies and Nkrumah Bonner defied Sri Lanka for 173 balls on day 5 of the Test series on Wednesday. Joshua De Silva joined him for a 100-run 44-4 overstand, but Sri Lanka claimed the last wicket to clinch victory with 187 runs. Sri Lanka has earned 12 World Test Championship points in their first match this cycle. West Indies also have 12 points but have played 3 matches. And that's our package. Join us tomorrow right here for more news and sports. On behalf of our entire news production team, thanks for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.